Hello and welcome to JD's network training. In this session, we'll be looking at troubleshooting OSPF neighbor adjacencies. Here is our network. All our routers are in our one subnet. Everything's in area 0. We have two rules to follow. Show run is not allowed, and we can only use one command for the solution. So to start us off, we're going to look at router 1. We have two neighbors, both initializing. However, since this is full of problems, they're never actually going to make it to be full adjacency. So first off, this is router 2 right here, 10.1.1.2. Anything in the 4th octet represents the router number. So let's start troubleshooting from router 2. I always like to do show IP proto. Just to get a quick overview, we know that we have one area that's normal, max pass. Fast Ethernet is actually enabled 0.0 for OSPF. So everything in here looks pretty fine. Next, we're going to show OSPF. I like to look at the interface, see if anything sticks out as a potential problem. Everything looks pretty fine. I know that router 1, I didn't mess with the load or dead timers or anything because router 1's basically standard default. Should be up and running. So if there's no problem here that sticks out to us, there's one more command I like to check. And there's our problem. So we have access list 1 placed outgoing and inbound. And it's denying everything. So now we'll do show run. Make sure our configure looks fine. And to steal the command. So we have to choose which one of these we want to use to fix the problem. We can only use one and not two. So an access list placed outbound will not actually stop system traffic. It only stops transit traffic. So knowing that, it has to be this command creating the problem. And there, now we have a full adjacency. And we're also seeing exchange router 8. We'll get to that later. Let's see the problem with router 3. Everything looks pretty fine. Quickly, we can see our hello and dead timers are not the default. So once we find the problem, we can actually look at show run to see what the solution needs to be. Because the hello time, or the dead time, is 4 times the hello time, and that is by default, but you can configure either of them. So at this point, I really don't know if I need to manually configure hello and dead or just hello. But I see it's just the hello command that's been changed, so that it should not cause any kind of problem once we change it to the defaults. Default is 10 seconds once we take out this command. And our neighbor adjacency should come up pretty quick. You will see duplex half here. That's a GNS3 thing because we don't actually have layer 1, so you don't have to worry about it detecting it. Two-way, there we go. Now we got full. Next up, let's look at router 4. Oh, and right away, this just jumps right out at us. The problem with router 4 is going to be that it's in area 10. We know we're in area 0. Is that not what I type? Oh, there's the typo. That's why we should always use tab autocomplete to make sure type is wrong. But if it's on the second letter, it's not really going to matter. So let's verify that. We have a full neighbor. They should come up pretty soon. We're not going to wait for it. We're going to move on. We solved the problem. We'll come back later if we think about it and we have time. So let's see what we got here. Everything actually looks fine. Everything looks fine from here. Pretty standard. There's our problem. We have authentication enabled on router 5, although it's not enabled on domain or router 1. Let's get rid of this. This may take a moment to solve. Now we're full. We don't have to really check now. We see the full right there. Let's go on to router 6 and see what he's got going on. Router ID 000, that should pop out to us as not common. Because how the OSPF gets the router IDs, if there's a loopback configured, it's the highest loopback. If there's not configured, it's the highest interface. So right off the bat, we see that there's going to be a problem with IP address. And we see that it's administratively down. Not to. There's our full neighbor. We don't really have to check. We know the rest will come up. Let's look at router 7. This jumps out at us pretty quick too. You see the passive interface of passive unit 0, 0. Let's just get rid of this. From loading to full adjacency, router 7 is now fine. Router 8, if we recall, I believe it was stuck in Xstart. It's down. It never made it. Okay. Let's see exit issues. Everything here looks pretty fine. Nothing jumping out at us here either. And there's our problem. OSPF actually has to have the same MTU on the interface for neighbor adjacency to come up. So this is pretty easy to solve. Bring it back to its defaults. You can also do the MTU ignore. So I brought it to its defaults, or you could just make OSPF ignore it. And this can be done on any one of the interfaces to solve the problem.